Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about Jupiter and major adverse aspect to the South Node in a natal horoscope. As most of you know, the South Node is associated with what we generally will emphasize and accentuate very strongly, very often in the first half of our lives. And often when we get to around approximately age 30 and we enter the latter part of our lives, we may not necessarily eradicate the South Node completely, but merely we divert away from it to a degree and maybe integrate at least somewhat with the North Node placement, which is connected with the soul's mission and purpose. And Jupiter is associated with expansion, optimism, philosophy, religion, long distance traveling and journeys. We look at Jupiter, even sports, I would say, and connected with things that are fortuitous and providential, luck. Well, anyway, people, some things, first thing I talk about, if somebody has Jupiter in major adverse aspect to their South Node, it could indicate that maybe there's maybe the timing with these people is not always great in the first half of their lives, and often the second, because if you have the square, you're going to the South Node, you're going to have the square to the North Node as well. If you have the opposition, you have the semi-sextile with the North Node, which is not obviously is decent because that's a modified, I guess you could say, version of the sextile. If you have an opposition, then you have with the South Node, then you have the conjunction with the North Node. I'll get back to that in a minute. Some other things with this is that maybe the philosophies or religious views might be perceived as unorthodox by others and not necessarily conforming with what a lot of other people may, I guess you could say, may believe. Maybe things, views that were indoctrinated into these people early on in life, maybe it might have not been best for them. I'm not saying all the viewpoints that were instilled in them or philosophies and beliefs, but maybe it didn't always, listening to this or from others, maybe it didn't quite pan out the way they wanted, and based on their philosophical outlook early on in life. It could indicate also that we look at Jupiter in making this a major negative aspect to the South Node. It could indicate some kind of distortion of energy to some degree. It could indicate perhaps that this person might have a view of themselves that's somewhat distorted and might think that maybe their abilities are greater than maybe they are, or maybe this person strongly undermines their abilities. It could indicate that maybe I guess maybe their happiness, their joy in being jocular, the things that make them upbeat might preclude them from maybe developing the South Node qualities in their life to where maybe they should. They might look at their whatever is considered maybe that mission in that first half of the life, or what they're emphasizing. They might look at this as something that's not really making them really that happy. Maybe they feel this is something that's making them very kind of despondent or down, and it's taking away from the things that they enjoy, which might actually be frivolous, in contrast to that thing connected with their what they would be emphasizing in that first half of their life. It could also indicate that maybe they feel maybe there's too much of an emphasis that they put on whatever it is they want to emphasize early on in life, depending on the position on the South Node and house placement, that maybe this is taking away from their enjoyment. Maybe enjoyment might dominate these people's lives, and it might prevent them or prohibit them from going after what it is that's connected with, I guess, kind of like that mission in that first half of their lives. Now, obviously, a lot can depend on it depends on the house placements strongly. Say if somebody has Jupiter in the 11th house and they have the South Node in the 5th and there's an opposition made, it could indicate that maybe that time, that enjoyment that they want to have with friends, that abundant, expansive energy that goes into things connected with groups, their friendships, acquaintances, maybe that might dominate, and that might kind of maybe prohibit or prevent this person from pursuing their South Node qualities or energies, which in this case might be connected with some kind of creative ability or things associated with maybe entertainment. So we look at this, and or the opposite could happen, or maybe the person, their creative interests or endeavors, perhaps maybe their need for even romance, maybe that it kind of takes over and maybe to some degree prevents them from having that enjoyment that they would like to have. That would be connected with maybe organizations or some kind of group involvement, or clubs, and times with acquaintances. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for Jupiter in major adverse aspect to the South Node in a natal horoscope. And stay tuned next time, where I'll be dissertating and talking about Saturn conjunct the South Node in a natal chart. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because a person astrologically is the sum of all their components in their natal chart, and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.